me just see. Oh my God. Okay, so I think we are live. For some reason, I have one bar on my Wi-Fi, so hopefully, I don't know. Just noticed. Hopefully, it's all going to be good. Let me
Your
just
screen is frozen for me, but I can hear you.
My screen is frozen.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, I'll just do a quick introduction. Ladies, whoever is watching, please join us. And if you're watching a replay, welcome. If you can't see me, that's okay. You've got two other beautiful ladies, Chelsea and Jenna here. So they'll fill up the screen. But if you're on a challenge currently, show me your results. Talk to me about, your journey. If you're new to Slim by Nature, I know in the last, 10 days, we got about over 100 new members. So I welcome you all. And if you have any questions, just pop the question in comments and we'll respond. But can you still not see me? Am I still frozen?
Yeah, you're frozen. I can see you, but you're frozen.
Okay.
Yeah, I can hear you perfectly fine. It's just the screen's frozen.
Just the screen frozen. Okay. Well, look, I'll try to fix it while we're chatting, but I would love to introduce Jenna, Jenna Carrol, and this beautiful lady. I've been following you for years. I think I've been following you. I started on Facebook about five or 6 years ago when you were still a student. And then obviously we moved to Instagram, and I've been following you ever since. And for me, it was really incredible because obviously we're in wellness space, we're in health and wellness, and we try to support and teach others in certain space, well, in health space. But for me, I think the true connection was when you mentioned you doing human design and you're offering the readings, which was for me, I only just started tapping into it. And I think it was about 3-4 years ago. And it was a novelty to me. It was unknown. It was a little bit difficult to comprehend and really truly to understand. Is it a gimmick? Is it something does it work? Does it not? And the more I did some digging into it, I was blown away by the information, by the doors that it had opened to my inside of me, my personal life, my business, the way I look at life and what I do with my life and my time, and how I actually can bring it back to me, and how I can allow myself to tap into certain things and allow them to be. It's like a little hidden guide that guides me. So I was really excited to connect with you on that level. And then when we did the reading, I was actually having a chat to one of my girlfriends here in Sydney, and I said, I remember from the reading that you've mentioned to me that for me to thrive and to be in my element, I need to live on the land, but with the water and the views. And I was like, how am I going to do this? It's just impossible. It's not happening. Like, and even if I want to, I have to move somewhere so remotely. And only literally about 3-4 weeks ago, we purchased beautiful property. It's got a dam, it's got beautiful land, it's got the views. And I feel so grounded, and I feel this is the place that's been calling me. It's been waiting for me. And yeah, so it's incredible. But I would love for you to maybe take over. And Chelsea, I think Chelsea, tell a little bit about your experience, Chelsea, with human design, so we can get a little bit of understanding where you're sitting. I think you're quite new to it.
Yeah, exactly. I am very new to it. I only really know it from what Jana's told me about when you did the reading with her, Jenna. So yeah, Jana told me after she did hers, like, I have to get one done because it'll kind of give me a lot of insights into myself. And I looked into it, but I've never actually had one done. So I'm very keen to learn more from someone speaking rather than just like Googling.
Yeah, 100%, because there is a lot of information online with human design that's become so diluted down and quite far away from the origin of the message. So, and it's a very complex system. it is really hard to understand. And I think the best way to interpret a chart is actually in a more holistic way, where we're actually looking at all these different, micro aspects of your particular chart, which hopefully by the end of this live, more people will kind of understand what I'm talking about here. So it's so interesting to hear both of your experiences, and it is really magical information, and it's changed my life. I found it 5 years ago and began using the information and applying it to my own life, and seeing how through my own direct experience, because this is a system that is designed to be used as an experiment. So the only truth we realize is through our own experience. So what it invites us to do is to use these perhaps different perspectives and very practical tools, and apply them to our life physically in action, and to watch for ourselves the transformation that occurs when we start to live in higher alignment with the way that we're actually energetically built. Because believe it or not, there is a lot more than meets the eye. We have our physical body. A lot of the time we get really caught up on everything that's going on in our body and what we look like and all that. But there's actually a lot more. We have a lot more than meets the eye that extends beyond our physical body, which is really what human design is describing, is our energetic architecture kind of thing, and how we are all actually designed slightly differently in that sense. So yeah, it's really fascinating stuff, and I can't wait to dive in and kind of share with everyone the magic of human design.
So Jenna, can you just kind of simply explain what is human design and how it can be applied in, I suppose we're all new to it still, but for general public, for our ladies who probably don't know much about it and probably after this life would be interested in digging a little deeper. So what can they expect? What can it give it to them, like in terms of how they can improve or their life, or any tools or any tips?
Yeah, definitely. And I've actually done a presentation, so some slides, if you guys are open to me sharing that and describing exactly that question. So
perfect.
So I might just start to share my screen. Let me just see if I can work this out.
Can you just click the present button?
Yep, so I'm clicking the present button, and sorry, it's asking me to upload files. Let me see if I can just
take your time, no stress.
Share my whole screen or not. I wonder if it will.
I can see myself frozen. Chelsea, can you fix it somehow? It looks so funny.
I don't know.
I look like a little frog.
Let me just see. It might end up sharing my whole screen, so I apologize if that happens.
Okay.
All right, so
it's
apologies. This is a new system, so it's asking me to grant permission.
It's all good. Ladies, if you hear, I can see some commentary. Tell us where you're from, and with the challenge as well. So I'm waiting for the challenge tracker to come through. So hopefully tomorrow I have a better understanding on who is interesting. When we start the challenge, we get so many participants and the excitement is so high, but with the time the novelty wears off, and sometimes if we do have slip-ups and life gets in the way, we can give up. But what I've seen, one of the members, Irene, I know she got really sick, and today was so impressive to see her coming back into the program. I don't think she's in the challenge anymore, but she came back. So she was unwell, she got herself better, and I think she is back. So my first advice always is remember why you started, and if you fail, just fail quickly. Come back to it right away when you can, and just pick up where you left off. So you don't have to ruin the whole journey and then start a new year. You still can do it this year. So if you have any troubles with finding motivation or continuing, just let us know in comments and we'll help you here. And always email support. We're here to help. How are you going, Jenna?
It's asking me to. I've got to unlock something in my system preferences, and it's kind of being. I'm so sorry. Can't seem to.
Do you want to email it maybe to Chelsea?
Yeah, email it to me. I can try to do it on mine and then just click through.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'll just quickly open that up.
Oh, let me just see settings. Maybe camera, audio, video. Apologies, ladies, but we're doing our very best.
Yeah, it seems to. I just can't seem to get it to unlock.
I'm just checking my setup as well. Everything looks fine on my end. So
yeah, I think it's something to do with my own computer, and it's not for some reason enabling me to open it through this Google Chrome or something. But I'll just attach it. I'm just emailing it now.
Yeah.
Okay, and while it's floating in the cyberspace, maybe we can chat about it and then we can jump into the slides.
Yeah, I can chat about it, till the cows come home. So it's basically like opening up a can of worms, this information for me. So okay, I've just sent it, Chelsea, so you should receive that hopefully soon. Yeah, cool. Sorry, it's not going as smoothly. But that's life, isn't it? So yeah, like elaborating on that question was that, what is human design? Human design is actually a system that's relatively new. It was channeled through a man called Ra Uruhu in the 80s. So he actually brought this system through over 7 days and 7 nights. He went into this meditative state and he basically heard a voice. And it sounds a bit crazy, but he was actually a very normal guy before that. He was, working as a film producer. He wasn't really like that spiritually inclined or anything like that. But he just got this really strong message asking him to work. Basically, you ready to work? And he downloaded and channeled that information over 7 days and 7 nights. And then he basically dedicated the rest of his life to building out this system. So, okay, cool.
Okay.
Yay! That's something here. Yeah. Okay.
Flick screens and I can go to the next slide, I mean.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So, yeah, I was just going to, mention as well that I am like a degree qualified naturopath nutritionist, and I have been in clinical practice for about 4.5 years now. But it's only been the past 2 years that I've really incorporated the human design system into my practice. But it's been very interesting because you don't see too many naturopaths and nutritionists using this system. So I've kind of been observing some incredible results and incredible shifts within people's, not only their health, but actually it extends beyond your health, because your health is really just the tip of the iceberg. The way that I really see our physical body and our health, if we're not living in a healthy, vibrant, happy body, then we're going to be stuck there in that dense physical experience of what it is to be in pain and what it is to suffer, through our physical self. But when we are living in, higher states of health, we can start to explore beyond that. We can start to explore things like our life purpose and go deeper into our spirituality and, deeper into all those other aspects, which has been an interesting observation that I've made in my own health journey. How we often start with the physical body, but you start the healing process, you might start to lose a bit of weight and you start to notice yourself feeling lighter and happier, and then going, okay, now this is opening up something for me. And this is where using something like human design can be actually so useful in understanding more of these like energetic principles beyond all this physical stuff we can kind of get hung up in.
Because
So
everything really is energy. Everything, the
yeah,
whole life is, we look at it so simply, the body, the physical body, but at the same time, everything is energy in our lives.
it really it is. This is quantum physics, it's science. We are a bundle of vibrating atoms, and I see health in a very multidimensional way, and I always have. And so it's probably what drew me to naturopathy, and kind of understanding that there are many factors that influence our physical health. It's not just our diet, it's not just our lifestyle. Those are very important components and core components and pillars, but there is a lot more to it as well, to it worthy of exploring. So yeah. We can move through, Chelsea. So what I wanted to cover today was just introducing human design to you and kind of understanding how human design intersects with health. What is the correlation there? And then I wanted to kind of go into what influences our choices around food, health, and wellness, and just exploring that and kind of contemplating what that could be, and then lastly, understanding why it is so important for us to approach health and wellness in an individuated way through our own blueprint.
Amazing.
Yeah. Cool.
Hang on one sec. I have no idea what I've done to this screen.
That's all right. Okay.
Hang on, no, I'll get it back.
That's all right.
Okay, hang on. I was trying to make it so you could do the thing on the side, and then somehow I just...
That's all right. I have to confess, I'm really not very tech savvy, so I'm surprised I've gotten this far on an online business. So
I'm the same, so that's why I said to send it to Chelsea, because we would be still frozen probably.
From my end.
With the power of all of our minds, we can make it work, and we have.
Exactly. Let's send the positive energy.
Yeah, cool. So back to that question of what human design is, it's similar to astrology in the sense that it requires our birth details. So we're looking at our birth time, date, and place, and you can go and generate this on a website. The closest to the original teachings is a website called jovianarchive.com, JOVIAN archive.com. And you basically just put in your birth details, the time, date, and place. And it is kind of important to find your birth time. So look at your birth certificate, ask your parents if they're still around, or try and get an estimate. And we can always look at a few different charts to see if your chart changes that much within that time frame. But basically, it's offering you, what it generates is a beautiful chart. Kind of looks a little bit similar to this artistic impression. But it basically is showing you an energetic blueprint or manual in the way in which your energy body, or your aura, in other words, is designed to exchange its energy with the world around you. So kind of like the mechanics of the way that your energy body is designed to operate. And it provides a lot of information about your uniqueness. So just moving to the next slide. Yeah, so the interesting thing about human design is it's actually a synthesis of 4 more ancient modalities of understanding human consciousness. So we have the Chinese I Ching, which is a 5,000-year-old ancient Chinese text that goes into the 64 ways in which humans are here to evolve and to change. And what's really fascinating about that text is that they've later found out that it has a whole array of similarities with our genome that science has only just recently discovered. So, we have 64 codons within our DNA, for example, and there's 64 ways or changes within this text that was written 5,000 years ago. So it's really interesting. And then it's all incorporating astrology, the chakra system, and the Kabbalistic tree of life. So it's a system on its own though. So even though it's derived from all of these different systems, it's still its own entity. The thing I really love about it as well is that it's drawing upon more practical forms of science like quantum physics, genetics, and astronomy. And in human design, they talk quite heavily about something called the neutrino field. So quantum physics can now measure these subatomic particles called neutrinos that are actually floating from the atmosphere, from stars, the sun, and planets. And they travel at the speed of light and essentially collect around the planet at different times, in different places, all the time. So we're actually swimming in a neutrino field right now. And because subatomic particles carry a mass, anything that carries a mass carries with it information. So we are constantly swimming in this kind of cosmic soup of the higher energies that are at play. And I know that sounds quite out there, but when you remember, we're actually just a product of the universe. You know, we are just a little speck and a product of that. So when you took your first breath, there was actually like a almost like a cosmic stamp that was made on your DNA. I almost like to think of it as like your cosmic DNA that occurred. And that's what your chart is showing you, is your unique, almost like a snapshot of the universal energies at that point of your birth. And you'll carry that energy for the rest of your life. So that kind of explains to people, you know, that think, oh, it's a hoax or whatever. And, you know, it's wishy-washy, does it really work? And it's the same with astrology. This stuff is ancient. This stuff has been used and passed down through thousands of years. It's not like it's this light kind of, I don't know, wishy-washy thing that I think has been kind of, I can't think of the word, but I feel like it's become diluted down, I guess, as we've moved forward. Like in this modern age, people kind of take the information and don't really value the depth that it can offer. But basically what it's offering us is this beautiful opportunity to explore and to experiment with the mechanics of our true natural energy field and our evolving consciousness. Because I don't know if you have experienced this before, but I definitely have, where I have lived my life, you know, many times where I have been living in a way that is not in alignment with my particular energy, which basically translates as not being fully authentic to myself. When you're not living from your truth, from your authenticity, from the way that your authentic natural energy is designed, it's going to feel like you're pushing a big boulder up a hill all the time, and life is going to feel really difficult because you're going to enter a lot of resistance, not only on you know, your everyday life level, but also on a physical level within your body. Your body will actually express symptoms and disease if you are misaligning the way that you are using this particular energy. So it's a really useful tool to understand and to start to lean more into, because the more we lean into our authentic design, things flow with so much more ease, though it might look different to the person standing next to you, because we're all so unique and so different and designed so differently. We're going to flow with the most ease, with the most opportunities arriving on our path, and with the most manifestations that can, you know, arrive to us with little force and little effort, because it's happening naturally. So, yeah.
I've noticed it. And again, I think I'm 44 now, but in my 20s, I definitely was doing everything against my whole body. Like I was constantly anxious. I was constantly late. I was constantly losing things, couldn't find the keys. I was not even, and from the side, even my parents would look at me and think, oh my God, who are you? I'm just always running without any aim in a way. And even though my days were filled with burden and tasks, and only I think when I've allowed myself to stop for a little bit, you know, and start looking at my life, even before human design, just opened a little door and to start living a little bit more authentically. But it's such a hard way.
Yeah.
It's such a hard journey to really, a lot of people ask, but what is living authentically? How do you know? You know, how do you know basically what is the purpose of my life? Yeah. So this is the question. How do we know if I'm on the right path? How do we know that it is the right place for me. And I think it's more of listening to within your body and relating to the feels, and sitting in uncomfortable and allowing for it to be, so we can exit that yucky feeling, that yucky energy. So that was
100%.
my experience, but it's so hard.
It is so hard, but that's, I feel like it's a big meaning of life, is to ultimately strip back everything that we're not.
Exactly.
To revel in the divine authenticity of who we actually are.
Yeah.
We are all divinely unique. And the power of witnessing someone that is in their most authentic embodiment is so powerful. It can spontaneously shift other people's consciousness and awaken other people. That is how beautiful and how powerful it is. And I think it's the I know that myself when I was younger, it was like this seeking thing of like, what's my purpose? Rah, rah. And it's like, it's actually, your purpose it will guide you as long as what you were saying, Zana, you were saying how when you are in your body and when you are feeling the sensations of your own inner guidance system, that's always going to be your truth. That is the stable point. And that's an element of human design, is learning about what is your inner authority. How does that show up for you, and really learning to work with that. And that's going to be a lifelong process for me personally. And your purpose is in your alignment. So the more you're aligned you become, the more your purpose will naturally become part of your existence. It's not about like going, oh, this is what it is, and we can't even intellectualize it, because our human consciousness is so tiny in the grand scheme of the vastness of the universe. The universe has a much bigger plan than what our tiny, puny human consciousness could probably ever plan ourselves. So the best place to come home to is how your energy operates, and you'll naturally get guided to that place as a byproduct.
Yeah. I love it.
So the next slide. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So these are kind of just giving you an example of the kinds of things that show up in your design. So when we're talking about human design, a really big component of it is the deconditioning process. Basically, finding out who your authentic self was prior to external conditioning that you received in your birth family, around primary caretakers, into going to school, into the larger communities that you were involved in, cultural beliefs, religious beliefs, all that stuff was actually put onto you, and so human design helps you to come back home to the way that you're authentically designed beyond all of that. And this isn't, by the way, this can be used with all different religions. It's just very broad in that sense. It's not a belief system in itself, actually. And the most common feedback that I receive from clients is actually that it doesn't even feel like it's something that's telling you who you are. It's not actually meant to be used in that way. It's actually just a remembering process. It will feel like deeply resonant for you when you hear about your design, when you get a chart reading and explore those layers. You'll go, oh, that's like a permission slip for me, just to feel like, okay, that is actually authentic for me to work in that sense, So so that's one thing. You can find out how you make decisions in your life. There's actually 7 different ways that we're all designed to make decisions, and the decision-making process is incredibly important, because every decision you've ever made has brought you to this now moment. So if your life is off track, if things are misaligned within your body and within your life, it's like, what decisions led you there? Were they actually decisions that came from your inner being, or were they decisions that were made by someone external of you, or society and what their messaging has been? And has it actually not been from your own inner authority? So these are, and this is why it's hard, because it can reveal a lot of stuff that is actually really misaligned in your life, and it can be quite confronting initially, but it's like you have to kind of stir the pot initially as you kind of start to shift into a new way of living and being. And then, yeah, so it shows up things like a bit more about your life purpose and the particular energies and gifts that you hold that come naturally to you. We want to lean more into our inherent natural gifts and talents, because things that come naturally are actually, they often feel really easy to us. And when things are easy to us, we don't tend to value their significance in our life and how we can actually lean into them in our work and into our relationships and beyond. It also shows like more micro details and aspects of your design, which is to do with like how to structure your day, how to, whether you're someone that works really well with routines. Some people actually don't work well with routines. And this has been helpful for me in my naturopathic practice, because I can see in someone's chart if they're going to have a really hard time being really on schedule with their supplements and with their diet regimes and stuff. So it's really good to be more individuated in that way with certain people that can't actually, it's going to be against their energy to do it that way. And then there's a whole other component of human design that goes into understanding how you best digest food and information and life in general. So that's also really interesting too.
I so can relate to this routine, because all my life, I've been forcing myself to, as an entrepreneur, to have a routine. I've been dragging myself out of bed, I remember at some point, for a number of months, to wake up extra early so I can do the journaling, so I can meditate at 5 o'clock, so I can go and have my cup of tea at 6, so I can prep my lunches for school. And I wanted to have it like in my head. I thought, this is the successful trip. Yeah, this is how you start the day. This is what everyone is doing, and that's what I need to be doing. And I had no creativity. Like, I would start, and then up until 12 or 1 p.m. or 2 or midday, I would sit and like I would be frozen. There would be no creativity flowing. There would be like, literally, I felt like, oh my God, what's happening to my brain? I have no idea, what am I doing? And then by the time 5 p.m. hits, the energy flows and I start doing something. So what I've realized with human design, I don't need to force myself to do that. I can wake up at 6 a.m. and I can meditate at 12, or I meditate best at night, or, and even like with the girls in the office, they'll know, like sometimes they'll come to the office like, okay, we're doing this, and we'll run 10 of different newsletters in one day. I cannot plan ahead because I won't have that energy. And I believe the energy needs to be there to deliver not the perfect, but that authentic message, that result that you want to get. So I really struggled with that. And with human design, it allowed me to relax. And it's like, okay, I'm normal. It's okay.
It's so true, because we do get so hung up in that, routine equals success in life. But actually, a lot of people aren't designed that way. And what I find really fascinating is often we want to like go against, there's often resistance in our points of conditioning. So we try and be the opposite of what actually is natural to us. And so for me, I'm actually a routines person, but I've never enjoyed when I've had routines impressed upon me. So when someone else external tells me what my routine is, I've really felt constricted, inhibited, and not liked it, and wanted to buck against the whole thing, But what I've discovered is that having routine makes me feel safe. It really helps my whole nervous system, and that I need to create it for myself, not based on the external person telling me what to do. So it's so interesting. We all have a different way of flowing. And often I find the clients that have it where they are inconsistent with their routines, where it's meant, they got to have more adaptability in their life. They often try so hard to be consistent. They're the ones that are trying, and it's like, it's actually such a waste of energy for them to try and adhere to those types of strict protocols, and disciplines and stuff like that. So yeah, it's fascinating. So just going on now. Yeah, so we have basically like the entry point into human design. It's kind of like the first thing that you'll find out about yourself when you look up your chart on Jovian Archive will be what aura type, or you'll also hear it called energy type, you are. And there's actually 4 different aura types but actually 5 different energy types. As you can see, one of those auras in the picture there, the kind of pinky red color one, actually has 2 that sit underneath that same aura type. And that's what gets really confusing for some people. But basically, like, I'm not going to go into too much detail about what each of these aura types mean, but just like we have 4 different blood types, we actually have 4 different aura structures as well. So in human design, they talk heavily about all these different ways that we are built. And if we all just knew how our auras worked and how they were designed to exchange their energy, our world would be operating in such a more harmonious way, because not only could we understand how we're designed, but we can also look at another person and accept and love their differences in the way that they're designed to function as well. And that, in my opinion, that's real love. Really loving someone for who they uniquely are without me trying to control how they show up as well. So, so we have the manifestors, that orangey colored aura, and they are about 8% of the population. Their auras are actually what they call closed and repelling. And that sounds really bad, but it's actually there for a reason. They're meant to kind of be the nose tip of an airplane, kind of pushing everything out of the way because they are here to open doors in this world and to ignite their creative powers and initiate movements and initiate things for everyone else to kind of jump on board with. So they are the real type that can really harness that motto of just do it and just make it happen. They are here to literally make it happen. And there's a lot more to it than that, but that's just a basic understanding. And then you have the generators and manifesting generators. And this is an aura type that makes up about 70% of the population collectively. So you can see already that this is the most dominant aura type. And this aura type is actually open and enveloping. And so it feels really comfy to be around these beautiful manifesting generator beings. And they are actually here to lift the vital force and energy of the population because of a certain access to one of their energy centers that they have. They are extremely creative, and they're here to really have a very intimate connection with their desires in this lifetime. So they must do what they love. And when they are doing something that they love, that they feel in flow with, they actually create more electromagnetic energy in their field, and they actually draw the world to them. So rather than being like the manifestor where it's like, just go out there and make it happen and just do it, they're here to kind of relax more into their energy field and entrust that things are actually going to come and manifest on your path, because they'll often experience many synchronicities in their life. There are lots of different serendipitous moments that if they learn how to read the signs with and become more aware of that, then they'll actually start to see how powerful their aura type actually is. The problem with this type is that they can just end up like a freight train, just like doing for the sake of doing, with no direction, no purpose, and they end up burning themselves out like crazy. And most of the clients that I see are really burnt out generators and manifesting generators because they're often taught in human design as being the ones that hold a lot of energy. They have consistent access to one of the highest energy centers in the body graph chart compared to all the other types. But if they don't direct that energy center correctly, it gets so depleted and leads to a lot of burnout, frustration, and feeling like you're in a rut. And then you have the projectors, which is actually my energy type. And the projectors are about 21% of the population. And they have a focused and absorbing aura type. So see, this aura kind of is like a cone shape. It's literally like the shape of the aura of a projector, where it actually kind of pierces into the aura of another and is able to see really deeply into the other person in a way that the other types can't really. So they're here to be guides. They're here to absorb themselves in understanding lots of information and study and research in their unique fields and niches that they enjoy. And then they're here to help guide. They're actually the future leaders of the world. And And then you've got the reflector, which is only 1% of the population, the rarest type. So if you're a reflector, like, that's pretty cool. But their aura type is known as a sampling aura. They're essentially the mirror that is reflecting back the whole of this community that they're in. So they're kind of like the canary in the coal mine of, if their physical health is deteriorating, it's actually a reflection of the environment that they've placed themselves in, because they are so sensitive. They just like take in the whole world and feel everything on such a deep level, because they are literally mirrors. They reflect back to others and to the community. It is just a reflection. So yeah, it's a really interesting one. So yeah, that's just like a brief overview of the 4 aura types. But just moving on now, try and get through it as much as I can. So what is it that influences our decisions around food and health? Well, that's external conditioning most of the time. So just moving to the next slide, Chelsea. Thank you. So food and nutrition are literally the biggest conditioning fields that we have as humans. When you think about it, who fed you your first food? Of course, hopefully most of us were breastfed, but maybe we weren't either, so that's fine. But who was the first person that was choosing your food? Your parents. It wasn't even you. And then as we keep moving through the world, we're exposed to a lot of conditioning around food and nutrition through marketing, the media, science, research, the wellness space, and not the wellness space. There is so much conditioning that we've been exposed to when you really reflect on it. And so human design can really like show us the areas within our body graph chart, within the chart that we have, where we have been most open and prone to absorbing the conditioning of the external world, their beliefs around food, whether there's been emotional conditioning, and we've attached ourselves to certain emotions and food, whether we are actually so sensitive that we're actually buffering our experience by using food to soften the blow of the intensity of what it is to be in this human reality, and how, because life is really hard sometimes, and we often use alcohol, drugs, food to numb and buffer out the intensities. And so we can look at that in the body graph chart, which is just on the next slide. So this is a little bit closer to the kind of chart that you will see when you generate one. And so, like, I know it looks a little bit, it's very confusing. We don't need to know it all. But right now, when we're looking at the areas that we've been more open to conditioning to, we're really looking at the centers that are white. We also call those the undefined centers. When you kind of first look at your chart, you'll notice that potentially that there are, a number of those shapes colored in. It doesn't matter about what color they are, the configurations of those shapes are going to differ depending on your birth details, and because we're all different. There's like, I think 2 billion variations of a human design chart. It's like so broad. So they're also incredibly unique. So your one is basically going to generate something that looks really different to this potentially. But when you first look at it, the first thing that usually stands out to people is like, oh, there's some colored in areas in the chart. So those colored in shapes. Anything that's colored in, we refer to it in human design language as defined. So when there's something defined in you, it's actually a part where you're creating a consistent, unique energy from. It's almost like you're transmitting out energy from those defined centers through your aura. And so this is kind of like a more true, less conditioned aspect of you, and a place to kind of come home to and remembering who you are. If that makes sense. It's kind of like the solid ground. And then you've got the white centers, which are actually receiving the information and intel from the environment around you. So this chart, for instance, has a lot of openness. This is actually my chart, just FYI. This chart is like so much openness. So the openness is actually a gift. The openness in our designs are actually places where we're here to learn about the vast spectrum of that particular energy that comes through that center. So we are being taught basically through those centers, and almost like envision it almost like light or like that just passes straight through those centers. But sometimes those centers can get a bit dirtied because they are actually more vulnerable to the conditioning of the external world, because they are so open, they are so inconsistent with the way that their energy shows itself. And so in human design, there's a lot of depth into each of those shapes and like the particular energies that you might have picked up, and belief systems and emotional patterning. But the real key here is to know that it's a self-awareness tool. And when you have self-awareness around these aspects of yourself, it's like, oh, that's actually half the work done. Because when you don't have self-awareness, then everything's below your level of being able to see it. And so you can't make any changes. But as soon as you just have a bit of awareness around certain things, like just as an example, in this chart here, on the far right side, you can see there's like a triangular shape towards the edge, and that's the emotional center. And so for me, I've constantly been like deeply empathetic, deeply feeling the emotional frequency of the environment that I step into. And in my younger years, I'll share that I struggled for many years with disordered eating, and I used food a lot to buffer the intensity, and alcohol and drugs. I did the whole thing, because a lot of people that I do see that center with suffer. Like, it's not that they have got anything wrong with them, they're just deeply sensitive and they don't know how to actually use that energy and how to manage it, and then they can use these substances and food to slow down the intensity of that emotional field. And so until kind of I started to see my sensitivity as my biggest gift, and started to witness where I was trying to buffer the emotional intensity, did I start to see changes. And then what we can also do when you have these open centers is we can actually store body weight to slow down the intensity of what it is to feel through those open centers. And what I've seen is, like, when some people begin to lose weight, the sensitivity to these energy centers goes up. And if they don't have the tools or like understanding around it, or how to like, have certain, have a meditation practice or do certain things that help to ground that energy or build some awareness around it, they'll put weight back on, because it's too much to hold that energy in their sensitive body graph design.
So if they don't know how to manage that, they'll put the weight on. Is that right?
Potentially. That's just what I've seen. And I've seen it as well happen with other people in the human design space, that it's not always going to happen. But for some people that are very, like, for instance, this chart, is so open, it's like that person might really have a hard time being in the world or facing, a lot of conditioning, potentially trauma, potentially imprintations from their past in their nervous system. It's a lot to hold. And if you can't quite hold that or like work through a lot of those layers, we tend to just put on weight to like actually protect us. So we don't have to look at it, we can avoid it, So it's a really interesting one to explore. And of course, it's on an individual basis. It's not, it's hard to make blanket statements with these things, because everyone is so unique. You can look at a chart and and a reason why I love using it in my practice is because often it takes like 10 sessions to really understand a person. But with human design, I'll just look at a client's chart and I'll go, all right, I like know so much about that person right now, and I can go straight into a session and really get straight to the point with them. So yeah, it's very useful.
Thanks.
Cool. So just wanted to touch on, before we finish, the importance of approaching health from a bio-individual standpoint. And in human design, it's also referred to as the science of differentiation, meaning that we are here to differentiate ourselves from the homogeny of society, right? We've been kind of filtered into various systems through school, potentially going to uni, potentially. There's nothing wrong with those paths, mind you, but a lot of people can get trapped just kind of circling in the systems, and they're actually not, and getting deeply unwell and deeply sick, because they are not here to work in these parameters. we are so expansive. We are all so different. And that's why this differentiation process and living authentically is actually incredibly scary and requires a lot of courage and but deep desire to want to actually evolve and want to actually take that step beyond what is known into the unknown is extremely scary. And like, I know it because I feel like I'm constantly up against my edge all the time with this path. But the truth is like, once you've seen that thing, you can't unsee it. So once you've got more awareness, it's like, it's hard to go backwards. Like, I could never conform into one of those systems anymore, because you get to a point of differentiating yourself and feeling the flow and the power of your particular energy, that you can't get constrained anymore in someone else's idea of what you should be doing.
I love it. I love it. I think everything, again, in my life it's not everything is in alignment, but there's so many things that are happening and I feel they're just so much in alignment.
Yeah.
And one of those things as well, I was talking to one of my girls, and it's so hard for us to appreciate that we're different and we are unique. And when actually I was doing a guided meditation with someone the other day, and one of the things was through guided meditation, I said, you need to understand you are unique. Can you repeat it? And she repeated. She could not acknowledge, and she was so scared to admit to herself that she is unique and she's not like anyone else. She doesn't need to be like everyone else. We are conditioned to be in a classroom, lifting up their hand to for us to allow to speak to the teacher, to the class. Like, we're conditioned from such a young age. And then when we hit that spot, when we want more from life, when we kind of enter into that next level, it is so hard to unlearn everything we've learned. My question to you is, since you've been doing it and practicing it for so many years now, what is the age of your clients who come and want to know about nutrition and health, but also want to incorporate the human design? So do you find it's more of a younger generation, or it varies? What do you see?
Oh, I see so much variety. I mean, I see newborns. Parents come and see me and get their newborn read, because actually this is a system that's designed for parents to parent their children in alignment with their design, so they don't have to unravel the amount of conditioning that we've had to unravel in our life, so that they can just go into the world and be their most powerful self straight away and not waste time having to unravel all this stuff. As you said, it's incredibly difficult, and that I really feel for that girl. It's so true. We've been taught to think the same, act the same, like look the same, like look at social media trying to get everyone to, all look the same. And we don't want it. Your power is in your uniqueness, and understanding that no matter who you are, like even if you feel like you're not unique, there's not one singular person or consciousness in this universe that is exactly like you. You are incredibly unique. And the more you kind of go down the path, and sometimes, what can happen is when you are becoming more aligned with yourself, you start to get more intolerant of anything that's misaligned. So sometimes it can feel more intense when you start to go, this is what my experience has been feeling more intense when I was going into the path, because I could start to see everything that was misaligned, and it was quite overwhelming to see that. And it was just a slow chipping away. And obviously it's going to be a lifelong thing. We're always going to be up against conditioning. But in answering your question, I see definitely people of all ages. I've seen a man he was 76. He was probably like my oldest. And then I also looked up my grandma's chart, who's actually 92. And mentioned a few things to her. But so yeah, like I've seen a lot of different people. It's nice to see like younger people finding it, just because you can kind of get to them a bit earlier and kind of start to unravel it earlier. But definitely it's such a useful system for anyone, everyone at any stage. There's no stage. There's no, it's never too late to start your journey, peeling back those layers of yourself.
I would say, it would save if we were, let's say, if it was a subject at school or we were exposed to it from a younger age, we would save a lot of money on therapy, on drugs, medicine, because so we would just embrace that this is how it is, and I'm okay with that, and just lean into that authenticity.
I'm just so passionate about it, and I love it so much. And just going back to this slide, that we really want to start to individualize our approach to our health, our diet, and everything, because what works for that person over there, or what that health guru says over there, for his clients it may have worked, but it doesn't work for every single person. And that's why I think a lot of our attention and focus is getting lost trying to seek outside of ourselves the magic bullet, the answer, the quick fix. There's something wrong with me and I need something external from myself to fix it. Actually, you are the answer. You are the one that you're looking for. And so investing in understanding your body, like, doing things like these detox, these are so excellent because it brings more self-awareness in that journey. You push yourself through something, and you start to learn more about yourself in the process. Anything that helps you do that is going to be a really smart investment, because I believe that our power is in just, if you really know yourself on a deep level, then you're going to have more sovereignty over your life and your health.
So, Jenna, if, for example, the ladies who will be rewatching the live or who are watching now, if they want to get in touch, so how do we find you? Where do we find you? How do we book? And also, I want to book my little girl, Alaska. We've been, and Chelsea knows, we've been for years struggling with headaches. We went through all different elimination processes, gluten-free. She doesn't eat much meat, and only not long ago we have established that she is histamine intolerant. So certain foods that just simply don't agree, and those are the foods that she craves the most. So for me, I would love to read her chart, and I think I did the chart at my early stages, so I kind of know, but it would be interesting to actually flip it and marry it to that, the nutrition and the health session. So I'd love to book Alaska there.
It's so fascinating. It's definitely, and I always remind people with their health, like, especially when it feels like it's complex and there's many pieces of the puzzle, or like you investigate one thing and it's not working, but just understand that there are many pieces of the puzzle. And this can be a really useful piece of that puzzle to understand. And it is worthy, it's worth investigating lots of different things, but I would love to have a look at that. That would be really beautiful.
I think you would enjoy, because the way I see her, she's such an independent and powerful and a strong leader. And my initial reaction is like, oh, Alaska, don't say that, don't do that. I try to cut her off, because sometimes I think she comes off as a little bit rude, a little bit inconsiderate. So I'm trying to teach her certain things. But you know what I've noticed? We actually had a conversation with Jasmine, my other daughter, who's 21. Me and her were people pleasers. We would do anything. Oh, yes. And we will avoid uncomfortable confrontations, situations, talks. Where with Alaska, what I realized, she's completely fine with having a difficult conversation, admitting her mistakes, but not to be too much hung up about feeling guilty if she has done something wrong. She will apologize, she'll admit it, and she's moved on. She's moved on, where it would take me, I don't know, days and weeks to get over it. So but I think for that session, it's more an education for me, how to let her be free, and how to allow myself to settle down and not stress. Oh my God, anything, I don't know what she should be. Who am I to tell her? I think I'm lost. I think
I can hear you.
Okay.
I can hear you.
Yeah. So yeah, that would be really, really interesting. And I think I don't know if she can sit at the session. Can children attend the session while you're doing the reading, or it's best to do just for the parent?
They're welcome to if they're like interested.
Yeah,
But if they're not that interested, then
they can
um,
walk away.
yeah, and like, I mean, it would be recorded, so maybe one day when she's old enough, she might be able to watch it and kind of understand it a bit more deeply. But it's best for the parent to really like, well, firstly, harness your own energy, because then you can role model what it is to be authentic in your own energy field. And then secondly, to know your child's unique pattern. And super interesting, because there are people in the world that are much more, I'm one of those people, like that center that I pointed out on the chart, that was the emotional center.
Yeah.
Usually people that have that white or not colored in have one of their conditioning points is avoiding confrontation, because it's so intense for them. They're so deeply empathetic. They don't like making people feel upset. And then people with that colored in tend to be better with confrontation. So yeah, it's a really different perspective, but so interesting and so fascinating to like explore. But yeah, I had like just another slide there, but I think I covered it in what I just said. So yeah, I was just talking about how our best approach to health is to be finding a tailor fit with what's going on, and human design really helps take the guesswork out of all that. And I did have a beautiful offering for your audience. Oh yeah, I love this quote. To be yourself is to be fundamentally healthy. And that's from the founder, Ra Uruhu. And I just think that quote really sums up so beautifully the importance of living in your authentic truth. It's just such a free, liberating, and vital place to live from. Things flow freely and easily when you are being truly authentic to how you're designed, even if it's a bit against the grain of how other people do it. But there are many different ways we can approach things in life, including business, and when we are aligned with our energy type, even in business, we create more flow within our business. And a lot of people use human design in business as well. So it's really fascinating.
Again, it's amazing. So the girlfriend that I've met today, she's actually moving from Gold Coast to Sydney. And I was saying, I've got this live tonight with Jenna about human design. She's like, oh my God, she has booked a session for her and her partner, her husband, sorry, specifically on human design / business. So they know and understand where the strength and what to look out for, rather than, being fiery. And I don't know if she's watching, she's actually in the group. She might be tuning in, or she'll be rewatching. But it's incredible how even this, like, I don't know, I look for little signs, and it just makes me smile and happy how, these modalities, they're just opening so many doors for so many people. And I think we have some comments here, Facebook user, but I think I can see it on Facebook. Who actually? Oh, Amanda said, this is so interesting. I've never heard about this before, and now I'm curious to know what aura I am. Yeah, it's once you start digging, you'll never come out of it, and you'll just you'll lose yourself, and it's going to be so exciting. And then Jacinta said, I've got 2 girls that sound the same as your girls, Jana. Yeah, I think we need parents. It's almost like, when you get a license to drive a car, we need something like that to raise a child, just to give us a little bit, to make our life a little bit easier.
Exactly, it does. And it just helps, because obviously you have, like, if you have multiple kids, you'll understand that, they might have the same genetics, but they can be completely different people. And it's like, you might have to raise one a bit differently to the way you raise the other, based on their particular cosmic genetic makeup, their blueprint. What is their unique blueprint? And how do I read and learn to understand their particular language, and how that they're operating, so that I can facilitate that individual's journey into the world in the most in their most authentic, aligned way. Like, I mean, so much love for all the parents out there doing this job, of facilitating humans into this world in the most beautiful way. So it is the most important job. So using a tool like this is just an extra little, like, tool in the toolkit that you can draw upon when you're having some difficulties with it.
Yeah. Love it. So share your offer. I'm keen to know myself.
No, I wanted to offer this. So I very rarely discount. I actually don't think I've ever done a discount on my offerings. But I really wanted to give 50% off if you book 2 sessions, 2 readings with me. And the reason
off. Don't say 50% off.
Oh, sorry, $50 off. I mean, sorry, read the thing, $50 off.
Yeah.
Because if you are here for health, and I assume a lot of you are, it's a prerequisite to get that level 1 reading done. So I have 3 different levels of readings. That level 1 is literally, it's a foundational reading, but it's offering you the most important parts of your design. Like, if you don't take anything more from human design, this reading is going to give you everything that you need to really get the ball rolling and understand how to like liberate your energy. The level 2 is for people that kind of want to go deeper, and the level 1 is definitely a prerequisite to both level 2 and 3. So if you wanted to choose 2 readings, you're going to get a really nice in-depth experience, because you'll get that foundational level, and then you can either choose the deep dive reading, which kind of goes more deeply into things which we can discuss more about what those would be after your first reading. And then the level 3 reading is more about your health and your digestion, and all focused on your physical health. So it's a really interesting one. So you do the level 1 on level 3, or level 1 and level 2 kind of thing. And basically it's $25 off each reading. So yeah, and if you want to organize that, you just simply send me an email. I couldn't set it up through my booking system. It was eluding me. So just send me an email at this email, jenna@healthalchemist.com.au, and just mention that you watched this, and I'm so more than happy to set that up for you.
Yeah. That's I love it. Thank you so much. And ladies, if you want to follow Jenna on Instagram, it's Health Alchemist. Yeah, at Health Alchemist, I think.
So it's just, I think I've got it on the next slide. So I have my website on the next slide, and my Instagram account, which is just at Health Alchemist, ALCHEMIST, and then my website, www.healthalchemist.com.au.
Amazing. Can you do me a favor after this? Can you send me maybe like a screenshot, like a tile of that and your offer, and that way I'll do a separate post and I'll put it in our group. So, and tomorrow when people are rewatching, they can refer back to the post and they can kind of link through. That would be good.
Cool.
I loved it. Chels, what are your thoughts? Are you in? I think now you're converted. That's it.
When you first told me about it, I was like, I must know. But yeah, listening to you think about it for like an hour, like the whole time I'm like, I wonder what mine would show.
You have to send me a screenshot, Chelsea, on Instagram, and I'll give you a little voice note about it. Yeah.
It would be good for you to do with Andy as well, like the partners, and just you'll probably learn more about him.
It's literally a game changer in relationships that I often do in that deeper dive reading. If you want to do a composite chart, so comparing your chart with your partner's chart and seeing the areas of difficulty and then the areas that have been based off attraction, and what you both flow well and harmonize with, and what are different about each other. Because as I said at some point in this talk, that I think that the real love is loving someone in their authentic self and not trying to make them like how we work. We all work so differently, and so understanding their human design chart allows you to see their differences.
Yeah, so interesting.
Well, ladies, if you have any questions, put them down and we'll answer. But look, I thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. I can talk and I can can keep going, but I know the time is precious and I know it's getting late. So look, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I'll be in touch with you, Jenna. We'll get my husband as well, because I've done his chart, but I'd never have done the charts together for us. And I can
you've got to do them together, because sure, you can look at the different aura types, but like what we saw, those different energy centers and those shapes,
Yeah.
You can really see the dynamics of your relationship through the definition in your chart.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much. I love you girls. That's been really, really insightful. And yeah, ladies, just chat up to Jenna, and I hope you'll get some answers and relief. And obviously with health and what we do and with detox, that would be incredible. I would love to do that chat as well with the health journey, just to
Oh,
see.
yeah, it's so interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Well, look, you have a good night, and I will see you online tomorrow. Chelsea, you have a day off tomorrow. I'll see you on Friday. I've got a busy day, but all the orders going out tomorrow. So we've got Alia in dispatch if you need any help. And yeah, any questions, just ask away. Have a good night, ladies. Good night. Bye.
Thanks for having me. Bye.